Now, before I talk about building your contracting team, I'm going to tell you what I do, and I'm going to get to it here. First and foremost, everybody pull out your gloves. Pull out your gloves. We're going to get dirty here. We're going to talk about digging in and rehabbing some homes. So I want to see everybody get those gloves on. I'm not going to start till everybody gets their gloves on. Let's get it. Once you have your gloves on, get your hands in the air. Let me see them. Let me see the orange. As you can tell, these are from Home Depot. Okay, almost everybody. I'll give you that. So, next time. Next time. Maybe this year when the Steelers are in the Super Bowl, I'll bring the black and gold. Our company is Aurora Real Estate Investment Services. We're a family-operated business. I'm going to talk more about that. On the top left, you see my father and his wife, Amy. In the middle, you see myself and my wife. My father's my business partner. Amy's our in-house realtor. On the bottom left, you see my beautiful grandmother, Betty. In the middle, you see Valerie, my aunt. On the bottom right, you see Nick. And then in the top right, on the far right, how could I not include my two beautiful sons, Thomas and Luke? And believe it or not, that is not Halloween. That's how we hang out all the time in my house. And I stayed out of the picture, but I was dressed up as Thor. So yeah, we're a family-owned and operated business. We provide hands-off real estate investment services. We bring people from all over the world to invest in Pittsburgh real estate. We don't put a bunch of properties under contract and then try to sell them to you. What we do is we build a relationship with our investors and then find what they need. Like Bruce said when he was up here, he told us when he was in Pittsburgh on his tour, we weren't trying to sell him when he was there, but when he was there, he told us what he wanted, and we went out and found that. We prefer that type of relationship because we want to build long-term relationships. And I'm going to focus on that in the contracting end of it too. We do absolutely everything you need to invest in Pittsburgh real estate. This is the last thing I'm going to say about it. Everybody has an article on their desk or on their table. And this just came out last month, February 22nd. Zillow ranks Pittsburgh housing in the top 10. If I'm investing in real estate, I want to be in a market that can support my investment. If you go to my homepage, www.investinpittsburgh.net, and you scroll down, you will see a ton of articles, national articles, that talk about Pittsburgh. This isn't just me up here talking about Pittsburgh. So let's move on. Okay. First and foremost, I always say this when I talk about building a team, whether it's your property management team, whether it's your contracting team, whether it's your football team, whatever it is. This is a business, not a hobby. This isn't some side thing you do 2 hours, 3 hours on the weekend. This is something that if you want it to be successful, you must make it a business. You must put time and energy and focus on it. You must devote time and energy into it. You must make an official entity. You must spend money to make money. If you're not willing to make this a business, I'm talking about rehabbing homes. I'm talking about buying homes. I'm talking about flipping. Anything to do with real estate. If you're not willing to put the time and energy into it, you have a few options. One option, don't do it. If you're going to try to do it all on your own and you're not going to take it serious, you're going to lose a lot of money. You're going to say real estate doesn't work, and you're going to go out there and tell everybody else why real estate doesn't work. Okay? Another option, find a team like what our company does that already has that bridge built, already has that structure in place that you could team up with. Or number three, find a partner. Find a partner who has that knowledge. If you have the capital, if you have the credit, you could be that resource. But in order to build your contracting team, you have to be willing to put a lot of time and energy into it. I'm going to start off talking about suppliers, because when you're doing renovations, you need your contracting team. You're also going to need supplies, right? So how do we locate suppliers? We have a pretty good system already. If you're new to this, the supplier part of it is very easy. You have the contractor you're going to use to do your renovations. Have them give you a material list. That material list is key. You must make sure your contractor gives you a detailed material list. The worst part where you get crushed on your material cost is when they say last minute, oh wait, I need this now. and I need it right away, or else I can't move forward with the job. So you want to hold your contractor to getting you a detailed material list. You take that material list and you basically call everywhere. You could fax it and you can email it. You don't have any prices near it, and you ask them to send you bid after bid after bid, and you compare apples to apples. You need to make sure if you're not comparing a 2x4 with a 1x4 or something silly like that. You need to make sure you're comparing apples to apples, and you bid it all around, and then you make sure they stand behind what they tell you. So finding the suppliers is the easy part. We use Home Depot at times. We happen to be the second largest home buyer in Home Depot in Pittsburgh. Because of that, we get to work at the Pro Desk. We get a lot of discounts from the Pro Desk. We get a lot of special service. We get free deliveries and all kind of things like that. That's what you're looking for. What kind of perks do you have for me if I'm doing this big renovation? You take all that into account. Now, contractors. The rest of tonight's going to be talked about contractors with me. Contractors, this can make or break your investment. Okay, now I'm primarily talking to the person who is going out and trying to find their own contractors to do their own renovations. I really think it would be very helpful for you to use your pen and paper. You have a notepad and a pen provided. These are some key notes. If you're going to be doing a renovation anytime soon, or you're planning on doing a renovation in the future, I would take these into consideration. I will also be more than happy if you email me to email you this presentation, because this can save you thousands of dollars. This can save your project, okay? Do not use one contractor for all areas of your renovation. I repeat that. Do not use one contractor for all areas of your renovation. Do you agree, Carl? Okay? And the reason is specialization. You want a contractor who's great at what they're doing, not okay at a lot of things, right? I mean, it might sound convenient. I got one guy I'm working with. I only have to cut one check. I only have to oversee one person. Really, in the long run, I don't believe that that's the best strategy, okay? Why specialization? It goes without saying, some people are better at certain things than others. I want the best people working on each part of my job as possible. That way I know the quality is as high as possible. Guess what, guys? This takes a little bit more work. Actually, it takes a lot more work on your end. Like I said, this needs to be a business for you, right? But the work will pay off in the long run. Has anyone ever done a large rehab and tried using one contractor on the whole job? And how did that turn out? So-so. Right. Not as good as you would have liked. It was the easier route at the time, but in the long run, it probably wasn't the best route, because you were sending guys back there anyways in the long run. So it ended up costing you more money and more time. Also, you want to, I said that already. Also, diversification. Anything can happen at any time. It's amazing when you're in this business. I just got an email and a phone call on Monday that one of my investors that bought with me 2 years ago, he's 57 years old. He passed away over the weekend from diabetes and a heart attack. I mean, the guy was perfectly fine, and next thing you know, he's passed away. Anything can happen at any time. I've had contractors who their wives have left them in the middle of a job that they're on, and you know, they're broken up emotionally, and they leave the job. So anything can happen at any time. That's why having the detailed material list, and we're going to get into having your estimates and bids, is very crucial. And also a good pay structure. So you don't want all of your eggs in one basket, ever, because you give that person too much control, and also there's just too much that can happen. So if you have a plumber on a job, you have an electrician on a job, and you have a contractor on a job, if something happens to the plumber, only your plumbing is affected. You could get 5 more bids from other plumbers. But if you have one person doing all of those and something happens to that individual, now you're in a tough predicament. Okay, I love this one. Do not use friends or family just because they are friends or family. Who in here has ever used friends or family to do any renovations for them? Let me ask you, did you do it because they were good, or did you do it because they were friends or family? Because it was convenient. That's a good point. What I can tell you is we're a family business. So obviously we do use friends and family, but we do it because they're good at what they do. We don't do it just because they're friends or family. You do not want to compromise the quality of your product, of your renovation, just to help somebody out. You know, we all want to be able to help people out, but in the long run, it has to make sense from a business standpoint. Once again, this is a business and you must make business decisions. Some of the types of contractors you're going to need are carpenters, plumber, painter, electrician, roofer, mason, and so on and so forth. Now, how do we locate our contractors? We use Angie's List. Angie's List is actually really cool. Has anybody in here ever used Angie's List? I mean, you have to pay a little bit of money. You log on and you have a list of contractors available to you who have a bunch of reviews already. That's pretty valuable. So to me, that's worth the money. Craigslist is a source that I use. Referrals are huge. And the number one way you get referrals is when you pay people on time. When you pay a quality contractor on time, then you're able, you know, contractors always refer each other. Specialists always refer each other. Trucks with information on them, I use that. If I'm driving down the road and I see an electrician, I see a plumber, it doesn't hurt to give them a call. I want to have as many bids and as many estimates on each job as possible. So I actually have in-office staff to do that, but as somebody who's doing this on their own, you can give them a call and have them come out on and bid on work, or at least talk to them. We're going to talk more about that. Signs, but one area that a lot of people don't think of, when you're in Home Depot, when you're in Lowe's, whatever else you have, whatever specialty little stores you have here, talk to the people that are buying. Go near the pro desk. Home Depot and Lowe's have special desks for contractors. Go stand there and talk to those people. I guarantee to you that those individuals are looking for work. Right, Fred? Usually if you see a contractor buying supplies, they want another job. And what better way to get another job than to not have to pay for that advertisement? You walk up to them, ask them what they do, you add that to your contracting list. That's probably one of my favorites. That's probably my second favorite, because of the fact that you know they're working. If they're there buying supplies, they're probably working, which means that maybe they're half decent. It is important. Okay, now this is key. We're going to spend a lot of time on this. I give a whole presentation on screening tenants. A lot of you have heard that. I take screening contractors just as serious as screening tenants. So this is key, and this is the part where a lot of people don't do it. They just decide to try this person, and I think that that's probably not the smartest route to take. I use a two-step process in screening. Step one is the initial part of the screening. You will be calling at least 5 contractors for each specialization. So what I mean by that is, for your roof, call at least 5 because you're going to plan to meet with at least 3. For your electrical, call at least 5 because you're going to plan to meet with at least 3. What do you think about that, Steve? Yeah? Okay, now, first step, call and or email them. A lot of times for me, I'm driving down the road, I see a phone number on the side of a van, I text my in-office staff, tell them to call him immediately. I know he's driving. If it's the owner of the company, I know he's driving at the time. It's really hard to get a hold of contractors when they're working. The best time to get a hold of them during the day is when they're driving. So I try to capitalize on that right away. Or I email them, depending on if it's Angie's List or Craigslist or however it is. And a lot of times I have them meet me at a potential job. For me, the best place to meet a potential contractor a lot of times is at a potential job to show them how much work they actually have available, how much work I have available for them. And I set up a time and place to do so. Now, what I'm looking for in this stage is I'm looking for, is this someone I can work with just off the bat? It's an initial screening. It's like a first date per se. What's the response time to my phone call? That's really important. Now, contractors can get backed up, so they may take some time to get back to you, but I like a contractor that gets back to me within 24 hours. That's important to me because I know when the rehab's going on, I need responsiveness. Things change. Add-ons happen. Things may change with the weather. You need someone who gets back to you when they, or they email you back. When they do get back to you, what's their professional level? Are they like this? Yeah, what do you want? You know, I mean, that's probably somebody that you're, at least I don't want to work with. You know, I look for someone who says, Joe's Contracting, how may I help you? You know, they have some pride, they have some professionalism because, let's be honest, when they're in the job, they're going to be dealing with the neighbors. They're going to be dealing with potentially tenants. They're going to be dealing with people in the neighborhood. And when people in the neighborhood know that you're the owner and you're associated with the property, your contractors actually represent you. I mean, I got to be honest. We go in and we change neighborhoods, but I've had contractors hinder that process. I had a contractor who, he was dropping shingles into the neighbor's yard, and the neighbor came out and asked him to pick up the shingles, and he literally cursed him out. Now, as soon as I found that out, he obviously wasn't with my company, but that caused a lot of bad blood between us and that neighbor. We need our neighbors. Our neighbors look out for our properties. Our neighbors are part of our community. So we need our contractors to respect our neighbors. So the way they answer their phone, their presentation, that's important to me. Like I said, I like to focus on long-term relationships. We all agree on that. And that goes in all areas of the business. Ask a lot of questions. We want to see how they communicate. Once again, this is the communication part of it. So I ask a lot of questions. And I normally, if I get a good feel for someone, that first conversation, I'm on the phone for about an hour sometimes because I'm dragging it out. I want to see how do they respond, because during a job, if something comes up, I'm going to be on the phone. If I'm not able to make it right to that job, I'm going to be on the phone, and I want to know every detail of what came up. The contractor calls you and says, guess what, this wasn't on the rehab breakdown, but a pipe broke, and we need to fix it right away. Well, I want to know, where did the pipe break? How did it break? What's your plan of action to fix it? How are we going to get there? That's that could be a long process. If they're not willing in the interview process to do that with you, what do you think they're going to do when they're on the job? I got to go, I'm going to fix it. No, I need to control my cost and I need to control my quality. So I need someone who's going to talk it out with me to make sure that we're taking the best course of action. At least the best course of action we could determine at the time. So I don't recommend letting them rush you. Don't let them take control of that phone conversation. They're people that are used to getting things done. They might not mean to be malicious or rush you, but you have to take control of that phone call. That is very, very important. Tell them you want an estimate. Okay, this is actually a big roadblock, Steve. This is actually a big roadblock when you're dealing with subcontractors. You want a detailed estimate. Tell them that up front. Tell them that on that first phone call. I'm going to need a detailed estimate from you for any work you do. If they refuse that, then you cannot use them. And I'll talk more about that in a little bit as to why. That's very important. And then, you know, in Pittsburgh, you have to be registered with the city of Pittsburgh, and you have to have $1 million of liability insurance. I ask them that at this stage. If they say no, if they don't have that, then it's not even a viable option for us to work together. You need to be protected. You need to know, do not use an unlicensed, unregistered, uninsured contractor, ever. Hands down, ever. Has anybody ever used an unlicensed, uninsured contractor? Yeah, me too. I don't anymore. Also, a good question. Do you have a working vehicle that you own, and do you have your own tools? A lot of people, they're trying to get into the business, and they want to borrow somebody's tools. They want to hitch a ride to the jobs, and that becomes very difficult because when they have problems with that full coordination on their end, it becomes your problem. That's why I like to meet them at the job I'll answer questions at the end. I like to meet them at the job because I like to see them drive up in their own vehicle. Most of the time they have their own work vehicle which has some of their tools on it, and we have that discussion on the job. And then of course Google. You're silly if you don't Google them. I mean, Google has so much information, it's amazing what you can find out on Google. Just run a Google search and see what comes up, and then ask them about it. Because guess what? For the most part, the only people that take the time to write reviews are the unhappy people. Not 100% of the time, but for the most part, your happy customers aren't going on the internet and on Twitter or whatever's out there and writing all these reviews. It's normally the unhappy people who are making a website about your company or something silly. So ask them to explain it. Don't just assume that everything on Google is true. And everything on Wikipedia is not true either. Now, step 2. So they get through that initial screening process. Now, this is where you really dig deeper. Okay, this is the next step. Background check. If they refuse to let you run a background check, if they say that you're going too deep, if they say that you are invading their privacy, my question for you is, what do they have to hide? You can run a background check on me if you want. But that's important. I mean, you want to know who is on your job. There's so much opportunity to lose money during this contracting stage. Materials getting lost. It's countless. Run a background check. We could talk about how to do that. In Pittsburgh, we have a very easy process. I'm not sure here in New York how easy that process is to be able to do that. I love this one. Go look at jobs they are currently working on. If he or she is an active contractor, when in your general discussion, you're asking them, where are you working? What jobs are you doing? Where do you do work? They tell you where they're working. Well, what I like to do is, I'm driving and I'm getting close to that job, and I give them a call and I say, hey, how you doing? I say, I'm in the area. You mind if I stop by? And I'm there within 2 minutes. Or sometimes I just drive by that job to see if their vehicle's on the job. Hey, I saw your vehicle on the job. I wanted to stop and say hi again. Stop into their job. See what's going on. See if they're being respectful. See if they're keeping the place clean as they work. Make sure, see what their work ethic is. Dropping in on a job is like dropping in at a current tenant's residence to see how clean it is and how they keep it up. See past work. Ask them for references. Ask them for pictures if they have it. Ask them if you could go see their past work, if they have any clients that are willing to allow you to do that. Also, referrals. Current referrals, past referrals, people's names and phone numbers. Most people who do good work have referrals, right? Get a detailed estimate. Now, this is where a detailed estimate comes in. You do not want to allow for generalities. Once again, you're going to hammer down with them. I need a detailed estimate. What does that mean? I need a line item by line item by line item by line item estimate. I do not care if the estimate is 40 pages long or if it's a small job, 1 page long. I don't care if it's handwritten. You write hang sheet of drywall, hang and finish drywall, X amount of dollars. Install, okay, you're getting flooring installed. You want the exact square footage that's getting installed so you can verify that. When you don't have that level of detail, that leaves openness for, how's the word I'm trying to say? That's right. You said it better than I could. And that's where, even if they're 100% honest individual, anytime you have that uncertainty, that's where disagreements can occur. That's where ill feelings can occur. So you want to make sure that they're willing and able to give you a detailed estimate. Also, that is exactly what's going to protect you in the long run. If something were to happen to them, you pay them based off of the estimate, based off of what they completed. So you're converting their estimate into an invoice based on completion. And if something were to happen to them, you know what you paid for and you know what's unpaid for. So let's say they left the job. you could go have that estimate, you could cross off the line items that you paid for or the partial items that you paid for, and then you know exactly what you can afford to pay a new contractor that you have to go hire to finish that job. A detailed estimate is absolutely key to staying within your budget and to managing your job and your contractor and to your long-term relationship with the contractor. Once again, I go into it again, ask a ton of questions. I already went over this, I'm not going to go over it again. You want to ask a ton of questions, but then you want to specifically be difficult on several questions. You want to specifically just be a little hard, a little difficult, maybe a little ununderstanding or simple on a couple questions, because you want to see how they react in that difficult conversation with you. Because during the renovation process, don't kid yourself, there are difficult moments from time to time, and you're going to have to be able to talk through it and work through it. So now's the time to find out if you can do that or not. Now, at this point, you need copies of their licenses and insurance. A contractor never steps on my job without me having the copies of the contractor's insurances, a filled out W-9, because I'm going to 1099 them, and also a detailed estimate of what they're going to do. I shouldn't say never. Every once in a while, I really want to get a job done, and I say, go ahead and get started. And 8 times out of 10, it ends up costing me more money than if I waited the extra day to get the estimate and make the adjustments and approve the estimate. Discuss the payment process with them. You must be on the same page. Whatever payment process that you two work out, you want that in writing. Because this is, once again, this is an area where it doesn't have to cause ill feelings, but anybody who's done renovations in here knows that this can be a sticking point with a perfectly good relationship, right? You know you're going to pay them. They know you're going to pay them. But they're 20% done with the job, and they want 70% of the pay. You don't want to pay 70% of the pay when 20% of the job's done, and they don't want to wait until 70% of the job's done to get 70% of the pay. So if you agree on all this, this is the best time to agree on everything, because guess what? They're trying to get your work. So they're going to be willing at this point to make these decisions and sign off on them. So after week 1, when they only have 20% of the job done and they're trying to invoice you for 70% of your work, this is where you pull out your contract. You say, excuse me, Joe. No offense to any Joes in here. Excuse me, Joe. This is the contract we signed. You get paid on this basis, and that's how I'm going to pay you. And it doesn't always work out that simple, but you have a much bigger leg to stand on at that point. Now, I'm not going to go into what to do and what not to do as far as renovation concerned. I'm out of battery. Can everybody hear me still?
Yeah.
How long was I out for?
I didn't even notice.
Thank you.
He's loud enough.
Okay. Wow, I was out the whole time, I think. No wonder my throat was starting to hurt. I'm not going to go into what to do and what not to do as far as renovations. That's a whole different presentation, and that varies dramatically depending on what you're doing. But it is important that you perform a renovation that meets the following goals while staying within your budget. You always need to start, and I didn't put the whole pro forma breakdown on here because that's a very long part of a presentation I don't have enough time to do today. But here's my goals for a buy and hold renovation. And actually for me, they're very similar for a flip. Okay? My number one priority for buy and holds and for flips, but I want to focus on buy and holds right now, is to make the building a long-term investment. Okay? And what we focus on is we focus on the guts of the house. We focus on the electrical, the plumbing, the roof, the water heater, the heating system, etc. We're trying to prevent service calls before you get them. Now what you do is you go in, you inspect all that. If you can, before you ever buy a house, you have the electric on in the house, you have the utilities on in the house. That's not always possible. On bank-owned properties, it's almost impossible. So we're not always able to do that. But what you're doing is you're doing your best inspection. If you get a home inspection, however you determine to do it, you're checking all those things to your best judgment or to your contractor's best judgment. If they're not good, those are items you must definitely include in your rehab breakdown. Okay, because the guts of the property on a buy and hold are what's going to make your property a long-term passive investment. If you skip out on these parts, if you willingly and knowingly skip out on these parts, you're deciding to cause yourself a lot of trouble. That's all you're deciding. You're not deciding to save money. You're just deciding to cause yourself a lot of money. What you want to do is, like I said, you want to try to prevent service calls before you get them. That's the key. And number two, you want to make the house attractive to potential tenants. For me, what I attempt to do is I attempt to take the property to 1 or 2 steps above other properties in the neighborhood. 1 or 2 steps above my competition. Because I want my #1 referral base for tenants to be my current tenants. What I find when we really start to get into a neighborhood and transform a neighborhood, one of our main referral bases is our current tenants. I get anywhere from 5 to 8 phone calls a week. Hey, what do you have available as far as rentals are concerned? And I ask them how they found out about us. And they say, because we are friends or we are family with whoever, we went into one of your properties and we couldn't believe the rent amount for the price. And they've been there for 2 years, and they told us that you really take care of them and they really enjoy living in your property. That's what you want. That's the best kind of referral for tenancy. So as far as how nice it is, that changes depending on what type of neighborhood you're in, what type of investment you're doing. You really have to research other rentals in the neighborhood to know what their amenities are, to know what they need, and you want to try to go 1 to 2 steps above that. Luckily for us, we've been investing in Pittsburgh since 1925, and so we know that. And then it's the same thing. For me, doing the guts of a flip is just as important because I have my real estate agent point out all those important things. Our invitation to you, we invite you to come see some of these renovations firsthand in Pittsburgh. We do a lot of one-on-one tours. We take you around, we educate you, we show you what we have going on. You get to see the city that Zillow just ranked in the top 10 for real estate market. I hope that I was able to help, and I thank you very much for being a great crowd.